Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Paul's Collectibles. Last year I saw a video by a gentleman called Mr. Movie Guy where he discussed how he took his vintage action figures and put them into shadow boxes to display, and I thought that was a really cool idea. Now I don't have any vintage action figures, but I do know that I really enjoy the Black Series figures. I headed over to Big Bad Toy Store to their Black Series section, and I picked up 3 clones that they had in stock over there. Now the box came, and I was pretty excited to get this started. I was going to make my own shadow box, but I was going to focus on the Clone Wars era. The figures came packed all together in this bubble wrap. There was the Kamino clone, the Phase 1 clone, and Commander Bly. 2 of them from that first series, and the third one from the Black and Red series. I was surprised at how tightly packed these clones were in this plastic, and it was actually a little bit of a challenge to get them out because, as you're probably aware, I don't open figures very much. So as soon as I got to the next figure, I was a little bit braver. I also noticed that these Black Series figures are really stiff and really difficult to pose, and when I was moving their arms around, I was worried they might actually break. Next up was to take the Commander Bly figure, which is a really excellent figure, cloth, lots of detail, and I had to decide how I was going to pose each of these clones with their weapons while they were in the shadow box. Getting the weapons in their hands was a little bit more of a challenge than I thought, but once I did, I laid them out on the table in what I would best describe as chronological order, and I got this shadow box, which I had picked up from Joann, and began to prepare it. This has a ring on the back where you can hang it on the shelf, and these little sliding metal pieces that hold it to the back of the frame. I then placed the clones on and put the glass over top to make sure that the glass wasn't going to be interfered with when I realized that the Kamino clone was going to need to be adjusted. His gun was rubbing up against the glass, preventing it from going down. So he ended up in a gun down pose because for some strange reason he didn't want to hold it up in the same position the other 2 clones did. I fitted the glass bag over top, and when I realized it was going to work, I decided it was time to move on. I got this Scotch blue painter's tape, and once I was satisfied with where the clones were placed on the backboard, I put the tape right at the base of their feet so I knew where I was going to replace them. I also took a black Sharpie marker and drew lines on the tape at the center line of each figure so it would be easy to replace it. I then got my standard hobby glue gun and applied a generous amount of glue to the areas on the back of the clones that actually contact the backboard. There was no need to put any on the helmet or on the thighs or anything like that because they're held up off of the backboard. I then pressed the clone into place using the blue tape and the black line marks, which I had done before, and moved on to the second clone. Once again, a generous helping of hot glue, removing some of the strands that trail behind it, getting them just in the right position, and then pressing them down. And then lastly, Commander Bly, same thing. Pressed him into position using the marks, and then I let them sit and dry. I let them sit for a couple of hours just to make sure that they were going to be perfectly dried, and when I came back, I pulled them up off the table and just made sure that they were anchored properly, and I was very shocked at how anchored they were, and it worked immensely well. Removed the tape, and I got this really good glass cleaner so that I could clean the glass on the interior and the exterior of the shadow box. When I was satisfied that the shadow box was as clean as I felt like getting it, I then gingerly turned the clones over because at any point I was thinking they were just going to fall off, but they never did. And I placed them into the frame of the shadow box and then simply rotated the metal retaining pieces until all of them were in place and turned over the shadow box to see that it had worked beautifully. I was actually very surprised and very excited that it went as smoothly as it did. I took this dry rag and I wiped the fingerprints off of everything where I had been working with it so that it would be perfectly presentable, and I took it upstairs. I'm eventually going to hang this on the wall, but for now it's going to reside right here on my helmet stand because I plan to make 2 or 3 more like this, and when I do, I'm going to hang them all together. And with that, there you go. I'll see you on the next video.